My name is Margaret Ann Windsor, and I've put up quite a few videos in Facebook over the years since April of 2012, and then YouTube on August the 4th, 2013. So I've done like 5 a day most of the time, all these years. So no one has addressed it publicly. This is an endorsement I got from Larry Flint, publisher of Hustler magazine, who was shot by a program shooter. Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I was doing a book about the subject, and I lived nearby in Marietta, Georgia, and this was April of 1984. He says, I know who's responsible for a shooting in Georgia, Larry McDonald, Congressman Doctor, and he mentions Murphy and Samoa. And okay, and then Childers is the name I have to use. I was kidnapped by the Illuminati who took out my father and brought to Moulton, Alabama, given another name in 1941. Name of a twin, Peggy and Dempsey married Childers. And the real Peggy and Carl were killed by their mother. They were born out of wedlock. And Peggy was killed just a week or 2 weeks before they dropped me off there in 41 at age 2. So this was planned, the murder, to kill her 2 weeks or a week earlier and give me her name. Anyway, I wrote a book about mind control and had a letter from the U.S. Attorney in ongoing investigation. National security involved came back. It was issued by the FBI, and I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80, and there were several doctors involved in it, and one of them was Congressman Larry McDonald, doctor. Now, his was on the plane that was supposed to have gone down. It did go down the plane in August 31st of 1983. The KAL flew into Russian airspace, and the Russian jet shot it down. The pilot was programmed to fly into Russian airspace. He didn't even know it. They can be programmed to fly into the water, to ocean, or the mountainside, you name it. And they're unaware that they're programmed, and nobody's going to tell you. Believe me, where are all the psychiatrists, mental health, and doctors and all this, and the press? The press is controlled by the Illuminati that helped kidnap me and take out my dad. I've put all this up, so this is all I'm going to say. I've been telling about Tesla files that were stolen in 1930. Probably the mechanism used back on King Ferdinand and Sophie, his wife, the program shooter there. And then the Romanovs. This was Anastasia up here in Charlottesville, Virginia, nearby me. And it was the real Anna, and she was murdered. Okay, now then, by the mental health, at the mental health system. She wasn't mentally ill. That's another story, the true story you need to be told. And there were documents, and nobody would touch it. Your media all knows it. So I've talked about Tesla files and where you could cure an illness or create an illness. Now, I'm going to read just a couple of and you can program people to kill or with a knife or drive their car into the river and drown or use a rifle in mass or one. And deaths can be like they appear of natural cause when it's mind control and murder, like heart attacks, cancer, any of it. Supposedly suicide, etc. But I wanted to put, I mentioned I'm on here because of the Parkland in Florida murders, and that young man was certainly programmed, and as was the Virginia Tech next door here in Blacksburg. He was from South Korea, and he shot 32, was programmed to, and then turned the gun on himself and shot himself. So I had this written down. Now I can't find it for the life of me, what I did with it. a lady, here it is here. First, when I started writing, I found out it can be as easy back in '76. These were done in patterns, though. But it's as easy, and this was back then, so the technologies, uh, you can guess. And if you guess and try to tell about it, then they've had it so that it can mimic mental illness or the telling about it. The rest, the doctors do too. When you're mentally ill, the difference between it. Mind control is taking your thought process and everything away from you, your civil rights. Anyway, this was something that the lady, it's a good way of telling it though. Let me say this, when I started learning about mind control, someone mentioned it was kind of like when they make deaths appear of natural cause, or cure an illness or create one. It's akin to hypochondria obsession with the idea of having a serious but undiagnosed medical condition. You think you are suffering from this or that. Well, I'm going to go to this one and you can put it together. I mean, it's done through mind control. In certain flu shots, and I don't know the process, she was telling me this morning, and I thought, my God, this sounds like what I've been telling about. They do something to kill to put in the shots and kill the virus, the flu virus, and I don't know the process. She said something about eggs and all this, but it tricks the body into fools the body into thinking they've had the flu, when in fact they haven't, but it fools the body into thinking that. The body, as in some illnesses, once you've had it, then you're immune to having it any further. So this is what they're saying. She was saying with the flu shot. So you can connect that to what I've been telling about create an illness or cure it, and it's done with mind control, as they can program people to kill and mass murder. And I did want to mention the one that was done here again. And that was the psychiatrist at Fort Hood shooting. He's on death row, I believe. He was born right here in Vinton, Roanoke, Virginia, and went to Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, and I don't know where he got his medical degree in psychiatry, but he's on death row as far as I know. So why is no one talking about it? They're sure promoting this one in Parkland, Florida, and gun-ho for putting them in a mental hospital and calling them every name in the book, blow their guts out. By the way, the security guard there, his name was Scott Peterson, of all things. I couldn't believe it. I didn't hear that until last night. The sheriff is Scott Israel. But you're getting into patterns I've told about, plus the Parkland, as in Parkland in Dallas, where JFK was taken. JFK was shot by a program shooter, but he helped kidnap me and take down my dad, the Kennedys and the Mafia, the Illuminati. So anyway, you're getting into patterns that if you put the timeline and everything together, it'll prove itself. But this young man could never have put together, he could never have known all this. He had to have been programmed. There's no other way. So I guess that's all I need to put up there. But they're saying now they're going to put, this was the armed deputy there at Parkland who didn't go inside. And his name was Scott Peterson. And as in Scott Peterson, Mark Garagos defended him in the, supposedly he killed his wife, out Lacey, and unborn son Connor, which is not true. Mind control was using it and the patterns. But anyway, Congressman Gabby Gifford, that was shooting in Tucson. She's a former congresswoman married to twin Mark Kelly, an astronaut, his twin Scott Kelly, an astronaut. So you're getting into things that if you ever get it up there and show it, it proves itself. And I guess that's all I was going to say there. I can't think of anything else other than now they're saying they're going to put armed guards and all this in all the schools. They're telling this around Roanoke too because yesterday there was a young fella, not all that old. I didn't get his age, but he was in grammar school, and he came to school with a loaded gun. So now I cannot believe the people. They should all know about me and everything. I've been here since August of '86. I have told the media, I have told everybody, and they just don't want to hear it. Where they're making heroes out of these children for telling about it and getting the notice of the president, and the media is right behind it, but it's taking your guns away, which is not what you have to address. It's mind control. So I'm going to quit. I'm tired, and nobody's listened. Everybody hates my guts. I've been told that. Lady, I don't want to hear it. I don't care about your sons, what you're saying. And this is true, very true, more times than you can count. And yet, with the shootings at Parkland and the others, everybody's sympathetic. Look what they could have done for me. When I've been telling this all these years, they could have gotten together. They could have marched. They didn't. They could have stopped all this. The media could have told it. That's their job. Their job is not to delete and tell lies.